Hello everyone, welcome to The Green Man. Hope you're doing good and well and ready for another episode of the Album That series. This is a series of videos I'm doing where I'm talking about albums I have particular connections with because maybe of an association I have made with an event in my life or that album or with something that's happened or it's just all these kind of connections that I have to these albums. And this time around I'm talking about an album that reminds me of a romance. And I just want to stress before I really get into the video that this is going to be pretty low key. I'm not going to go deep into my personal life or anything like that or reveal anybody involved. So, if you're looking for more of that sort of a video, you're probably not quite in the right place. But yeah, this was about 10 years ago. This was kind of the spring of 2012. I was about 27, I think, at the time. I met this girl who was really into heavy metal. She was a big heavy metal fan, and particularly I think of Avenged Sevenfold and Iron Maiden in particular too. And because of this, because after one or two dates getting to know her a bit and finding out this heavy metal interest, I decided to go back to Iron Maiden's catalogue of music and explore it more than I had done to that point. So I was pretty familiar with kind of Brave New World, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, I think I knew quite well, Number of the Beast, but there were still some albums from Iron Maiden that I hadn't really explored properly. And this was the time when I decided, you know what, I'm gonna check out more of their stuff. It's been a while since I really kind of had a deep dive into their albums. And there was one album in particular that I really got into at this time, so in the spring of 2012, whilst I was dating this girl. And this album was Somewhere in Time. It's going to appear in the top right hand corner of my screen. Somewhere in Time by Iron Maiden. Came out in 1986. And it's not the sort of album that you would necessarily associate with a romance, I guess, ordinarily, is it? I mean, it just so happens it's because I was listening to the album a lot at that point in time that it means I think of this person quite a bit whenever I listen to it, or at least, it reminds me of this person, certain tracks, if I listen to them, like The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner, or Heaven Can Wait, or Caught Somewhere in Time, or Wasted Years, whatever it is on this album. If I listen to a song even from here, it cues those memories of that sort of time, spring 2012. As it happens, things didn't, nothing really came of it. It kind of was one of these things that kind of naturally fizzled out, and so nothing really came of it, to be honest. But whenever I listen to Iron Maiden's Somewhere in Time now, it makes me think of that phase and of this person. So it's interesting, really, isn't it? Because it's normally songs, I think, or particular songs. If you listen to a particular song from maybe an artist, then that will make you think of maybe a person. I mean, it's probably it's a pretty common phenomenon, I think, where there may be a song that reminds you of a long lost friend or a family member. It doesn't, it may not necessarily be a relationship or an ex or anything like that. It may just be somebody that you even just knew as a colleague or a co-worker, because there's a song that reminds me also of a particular colleague that I used to work with quite a few years ago, and whenever I hear that song it reminds me of him. And the thing with that sort of phase in my life as well, it was actually it was a good year. I mean, we had the Olympics in London that year, and I have really fond memories of watching that. It was also a good year for gigs. I think I went to a few gigs that year. And as it happens, I think I went to see Iron Maiden the following year after 2012. So in 2013, I went to see them live. Absolutely blown away by that performance in 2013. I think it was in the O2 in Greenwich, in North Greenwich, if I remember correctly. And they were fantastic. They really were. Bruce sounded amazing that night. And I just remember, it's probably in my top 3 gigs of all time, that gig. And it's always because I think of, that little phase in my life, meeting this person and it cueing me, going back into a deep dive in Iron Maiden's catalogue. And so, as a result, become even more of a Maiden fan than I was up until that point. So that's the story, really. It's not a particularly long one. If you were thinking I was going to do a big deep dive into a kind of illustrious love life. I'm sorry if you're disappointed by that, but you know, what can you do, really? Anyway, so take care, everybody. There will be one more episode in this series. Episode 6 will come next weekend, but then that will be it for now for this particular series. I do have other series in mind, one or two ideas I've been floating around now, so it won't be too long a gap before you get more Sunday night series of videos coming regularly your way. So thanks very much as always for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the video. Do drop a like and subscribe on all that business. I cover generally album reviews and album type lists, but also do a bit of sci-fi, horror and fantasy from time to time as well. So thank you all for watching. Take care. Have good Sunday nights. Bye for now.